By the way, coincidence or not, this just happens to be Embakasi Member of Parliament, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino's birthday. Happy birthday, man. Thank you. And yesterday just happened to be Uganda's Independence Day. And here we are with public enemy or government enemy number one, opposition Member of Parliament Bobi Wine, who, my goodness, you have been through hell. You have been through hell. Describe to us when they descended on you that time, and it looks like they were going to kill you.
Yeah, the plan was to kill me. And I had just left the seat of the car I was in less than 3 minutes when my driver sat there and he was shot dead. So I'm convinced that it was a plan to assassinate me, but God was above all, and I survived. But again, I feel humbled when I see the world looking at my plight and my brutalization, and yet hundreds, if not thousands, of Ugandans have gone through the same or even worse. Yeah. And even when I was arrested, it was the 33 of us. So many people were beaten badly. Maybe God used me to highlight the plight of Ugandans that are being continuously brutalized. So yes, I was attacked terribly after the murder of my driver. I ran to the hotel, and hotel room doors were broken all night until they finally got to me, descended on me, and I don't want to recount that, but it was terrible. Yeah.
And then you tried to leave the country to seek further medical treatment.
Yeah.
And they stopped you at Entebbe.
Yeah. They stopped me, arrested me, tortured me some more.
Again, more?
Yeah. And locked me in a hospital only to let me go hours later with no charge.
Bobi, what do they tell you? What are the authorities telling you? That you're a thorn in the side of Museveni? That you're a nuisance? What are they telling you?
Well, it's disturbing because the authorities don't explain a thing. When I was arrested in the first place, they paraded guns, and the government of Uganda claimed that machine guns and ammunition were found in my hotel room. And that's the explanation for holding me in military incarceration. But later on, the same government withdrew charges and the guns disappeared with no explanation. That is the government of Uganda, only to rearrest me later and charge me with treason. I won't talk about that because the case is still in court. But I believe this is a move to intimidate me and to intimidate anybody else that is inspired by my quest for freedom, you know.
Babu, does this remind you of Kenya in the early 90s? Does that have...
Actually, Jeff, it's a sad thing to see a youth trying to make it in life, and then they all try to suppress the same youth. I believe that in the olden days, such things that Bobi is explaining only happened here in Kenya in the olden days. And the most recent one was when I was also arrested and tortured the same way. And I think these people should know that we are not fighting them as the people. We are fighting the system that was put in place that is not providing employment opportunities for the youths, the system that is not providing democracy in the society, the system that is rotten. We are not against anybody. We are just trying to find our space as the youths. We need to be included. Inclusivity is very important. And in Building Bridges initiative, one of the pillars of that is inclusivity. Not just tribal inclusivity, ethnic inclusivity, but youths are fighting for the space to be included in the system. At least when women are fighting for their space, they're always told that there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there's too much support with it. What about the youths? Then they'll be branded that these are people who are rebellious, these are people who don't want to do anything. Yet the youths form 70% of the global population. Here in Kenya, if a youth stands for presidency, he will win. In Uganda, likewise, youths are around 85%.
Yeah.
If they stand for presidency, they will win. Therefore, this idea of inclusivity, youths must be included for example, in these parastatals, a third should be youths. In principal secretaries, a third should be youths. Cabinet secretaries, ambassadors, appointments, a third should be youths. Now, Jeff, we're just fighting for our space. We have to be on the table. We want our seat on the table because you're either on the table or in the menu. Okay. And if you're in the menu, you are eaten. If you're on the table, you negotiate on behalf of your people, which is the youth population.
Yeah. Bobi, there are echoes of Zimbabwe happening in your country. Robert Mugabe in power for 37 years. You're wearing Museveni, 32 years and counting. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Counting.
Do you see the similarities here? And you think it's gonna end the same way?
I would be very glad if it ended better in our home. You see, our president, President Yoweri Museveni, was a prized revolutionary. This is the kind of guy I used to look up to. I continue to be inspired by his writings and the speeches he made when he was around my age. So this is somebody that was actually on the right course before he got consumed with, you know, the effects of absolute power. So what we desire to see is a president that will not be scared to live in his country after he relinquishes power. You know, that is what we want. So we don't want to continue being a laughing stock among nations like Zimbabwe was. You know, we want to talk to our president nicely, and yes, if he insists on being stubborn, we intend to push him nicely.
You still have a lot of respect for this man, don't you?
I do have a respect. I'm an African man and I respect age. But again, I'm an African man who is living in 2018, who knows that people are supposed to give their contribution in their prime days. President Museveni gave his best contribution in his youthful days. And it's my job to inspire other young people, like the Honorable Babu said it. We need to inspire fellow young people to believe that they can play a role, to know that it is now, it is in their prime when they can prepare for a country that will make life possible and better for them in their old days.
Yeah, you know, you say something interesting that Museveni in his early days was the hero of the country, if not the region. What do you think went wrong?
Well, it has been said before that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I believe President Museveni is drunk on power. I believe he sees himself, he has been convinced by the people he keeps around him, you know, to believe that he's a god of sorts, you know. President Museveni used to surround himself with intelligent people, people he respected, people he listened to. But today, the majority of people that surround him are praise singers and indeed family members and tribe members. And that has caused the death of our institutions and indeed the death of the leadership of our country.
If he was listening to you right now, and he probably is, what would you tell him?
I'll be brief. I'll tell him, Mr. President, be true to your words. Be true to the words that you said before the country and before the world in 1986. Live by your promises.
Babu, tell me about the young parliamentarians.
I think, Jeff, it's a very good opportunity that the people of Kenya decided to give young parliamentarians an opportunity to serve them. And you see, as things change within the electioneering period, probably in 2022, there'll be more young members of parliament, young members of the county assemblies, even governors, senators, and probably, God willing, in future, even president will be a very young person, a youthful person. Now, as young parliamentarians, we are united than ever. We have different members of parliament across different divides from different political parties, different tribes, independent parties. We have Jubilee, NASA. They've come together with an agenda of fighting for the common interest of the common mwananchi. Jeff, I was raised in a very bad environment from the slums. And from that slums, I used to go even without food. I used to see my mom struggle. During that time, I always say that my mom was selling changa. I used to see policemen whip my mom. When I'm told by another person that they are sleeping hungry, I know what hunger is. When I'm told that they lack school fees, I know what lacking school fees means. And I would like the youth of this nation to get an opportunity for education, to get the same opportunities that I'm getting, to get an opportunity to join any college or any university, and later on help those people whom they left behind, the parents and the society. Jeff, as a young member of parliament, when I talk on my own behalf, I believe that by the time that I'm going to clear my term, I'm going to serve my constituents and Kenyans 100%, and there will be no doubt about it. And I believe And another advice to other young parliamentarians, that let us make use of this opportunity that has been given to us by Kenyans, that has been entrusted to us by Kenyan citizens to serve them. Let us not use it for sideshows. Let us not use it to make tribal speeches or to divide Kenyan citizens, but let us use it to unite Kenyans. But so far, so good.
Okay, Bobby, I want you to listen to this soundbite here. Monica, that soundbite you said you have, let's just take a listen real quick and we'll take it from there.
We advocate for people power, which indeed is our power. And to assert that no amount of brutality, no amount of repression is going to cow us down. We swore to ourselves that we shall insist on the fight for freedom. I'm always reminded that it's not about me. Maybe I happen to show up at a time when people wanted their freedom and they wanted it bad enough. So all this that is happening is just a reflection of what's been happening in society. It shows that my desire for liberty is as burning as the desire of the millions and millions of people in Uganda to be free.
And you say millions and millions of people there, Bobby Wine, but what's the message this government is sending to young people who are the majority, not only in Uganda but across Africa? Young people are the majority. What's the message they are sending in doing what they're doing to you?
Well, in my opinion, the government seems to be telling the young people that either shut up or die. And in response, the young people of Uganda seem to be saying, we want to either be free or die.
In this country, Bobby, and Babu will tell you, the internet is an active playground for a lot of young people. Active, where they voice all kinds of opinions, good, bad, negative, the works. Is it the same in Uganda?
Well, it's actually not the same. It used to seemingly be the same. I mean, the internet, not only in Kenya or Uganda, but all over Africa, is a platform of free expression. Particularly in Uganda, free expression has been curtailed over time. You will note that the government of Uganda enacted a law called the Public Order Management Act, which restricts more than 4 people coming together. Well, hundreds of people can come together and get drunk, government will be okay with it. But once 4 or 5 people come together to discuss the future of their nation, the police, the military police, and all security forces will come and clamp them and unleash brutality on them. So the internet was the last platform for Ugandans, especially the young Ugandans, to express themselves. But again, President Museveni, through his party, moved to curtail the internet. Unlike many parts of the world, social media was blocked in Uganda in a way of taxation. Now every Ugandan has to pay 200 shillings every day to access social media, on top of buying the MBs and the bundle and the data. So, and the president gave his reasons. He said social media is a platform for rumor mongering and trading, hatred, which I don't agree with. So you realize that unlike in Kenya, in Uganda, the internet is blocked. Yeah. Internet accesses.
And those people who can't afford it obviously can't get on.
So
that cuts maybe half, maybe 2/3 of the youth.
Yeah, that cuts a lot of young people from that communication.
What about yourself, Bobby? Can you travel freely around Kampala? Are you free to move around?
Well, I'm not free to move around. The day I returned from America, I was arrested on the tarmac of the airport by the military and the police, and I was driven to my house. And every time I attempt to leave my house, I am followed by the military and the police. So that shows you the paranoia of it.
So what, they follow you? Let's say you're driving your car. They're ahead of you, behind you? Where are they?
Yeah, ahead and behind. And every time I come out, to say hi to people before you know the military and police have shown up and they are beating people already. Yeah.
Babu, I mean, this is
I think Bobi is not living in a country. Maybe then there's some fairness in Kenya, if I may say, because at least the way we are being handled here,
yeah.
Especially the only time that happens here in Kenya is during the electioneering period. But what is happening in Uganda is so inhuman. And President Museveni, we respect you personally as a young man. Babu, I also respect you due to the fact that you became the president of Uganda. You are fighting oppression. You are the oppressed, and now you're becoming the oppressor. I would like to advise you as a young man that the future for the young men is still luminous. We need not to attack you. You just need to see things. We need not to remind you. The same way you had good intentions for Ugandans is the same way you should have good intentions now for the Ugandans that are existing. These people need change. Just give them that opportunity, because either way a time will come and you cannot stop an idea whose time has reached.
Yeah.
So by the end of the day, we as young people, we respect you as a president. Here in Kenya, I respect my president due to the fact that he's my president and he's also qualified to be my father, because I believe that I'm an age mate of probably their children. But by the end of the day, let them do the right thing for their people. A leader who is eating her own babies is not worth called a leader.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bobby, they used to call it the big man rule in Africa. You know, one-man dictatorship and not wanting to leave office.
Yeah.
Why do you think Museveni is so afraid to leave office? Is it the repercussions that he might be subjected or embarrassed or put on trial for things that happened in the past? Why do you think he's so worried?
Well, rather than delve into why President Museveni is not leaving power, I would rather look at why he should leave power. We don't need another big daddy. We don't need another strong man. We've put our trust in strong men right from the days of Idi Amin, and we've seen where they've gotten us. All we need is strong institutions that live beyond human greed, that live beyond human emotions, you know, institutions that are going to be respected. And that's the only way we're going to give opportunity to all the talented and people, the intelligent people with good ideas for our country. Unfortunately for President Museveni, he has a sense of entitlement. He always reminds us that he hunted his animal and wants to eat it. Jeff, this guy was having an interview with you, and he told you in your eyes that he's not working for anybody but for himself and his children and his children's children. But he forgets that according to the law, he is supposed to be our servant. He disrespected Ugandans by telling us bluntly that he's nobody's servant. And we as young people of Uganda, and indeed not just young people, but the people of Uganda, are here to remind him that he is supposed to be a servant of the people. We are not supposed to be fearing him. He is supposed to be fearing us. We don't like the situation where we fear to speak our mind because we will be beaten by the military. No, we want a situation when the president fears to disrespect citizens because he knows that we will move him away from that seat where he is and put a leader who we choose. And if that leader does not serve us according to how we want to be served, we can always remove him or her and put another leader. That's what democracy is all about.
But in the meantime, anyone who raises their head will get it chopped off. I mean, look at Kizza Besigye. Every time he raises it, and they were very good friends at one point, right?
Yeah.
They were mates. They were in the military together.
Yeah.
Now every time he raises his head, he gets it chopped off. Now a younger one is coming up, Bobby Wine. Now you're getting harassed the same way. I mean, when's it going to end? When's it going to stop?
Jeff, when I was coming out to represent the people, the oppressed people, I knew what had happened to Kizza Besigye. I knew that many other people who even dared to speak out against Museveni, many of them are long buried. And many of them are suffering in incarceration. And yes, people like Dr. Kizza Besigye and other opposition leaders have had their fair share of brutalization. But I'm also convinced that oppressed people cannot be oppressed forever. President Museveni was once not in power and he was speaking exactly like I speak. And President Obote always dismissed him. Obote is not president anymore. I believe there is going to be a time when Museveni is not president anymore. I am convinced that we are so many people that think alike. We are so many people that have resolved to get their freedom, and that is what we want, and we're not going to settle for anything less. So regardless of the fear, regardless of the brutalization, we are not going to relent.
Good point. Look, you were talking about your treason trial a short while ago, and you can't talk too much about it because you're still going on. But I understand it's a form of a court-martial, yet you are a civilian. How does that work?
In Uganda, it works.
Babu, is this the Stone Ages we're talking about here? I mean, it's like a bygone era.
I think that was too sad, Jeff, because as a president, you need not treat a youth like that. You need not take him to a court-martial, for that matter, or incarcerate him in a military base. It's not worth it, because what is the young man doing that is wrong? And if you think that whatever he's doing is wrong, do you go to that extreme, of which whatever he's doing is in tandem with what the people of Uganda wants? Now, by the end of the day, I think the president was too much. And you know, generally, even the law of Uganda states clearly that you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Now, he was being treated as if he is already guilty. Now they want to find his innocence. We are using the common law system where we should, we are innocent until proven guilty. Therefore, my prayer, my request still to the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the way people loved you to put you in power, at times you say that you got into power by bullet, but by the end of the day, without the will of the people, you would have not gotten to that extent. Kindly do them good.
By the way, Bobby, Babu here used to abuse the president all the time.
I know this guy.
Now they're best of friends.
Yeah.
Do you see the day when you and YK Museveni will be friends?
Sure, I want to be friends with President Museveni, especially if he respects the will of Ugandans. You know, I'm just one of the more than 40 million Ugandans. And yes, he's just one of the more than 40 million Ugandans. So there's nothing personal between me and President Museveni. I've already told you I have respect for him as a father, in fact, as a grandfather, you know. But again, he should know that me and him are equal before and under the law.
Good point. We're going to take a break, come back. By the way, how old is President Museveni? About 71, 72?
About 76.
Hello.
Yeah.
And they just scrapped age limits.
Yeah.
How old are you?
36.
Something's wrong with this picture. We're going to take a break, come back. We'll get your tweets and responses. Keep tweeting at Kyerenga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag, as always, is JK Live. I tell you, this show, these young leaders of tomorrow, watch this space. Jeff Kyerenga Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment. By the way, JK Live is sponsored and powered by Telkom. Telkom, moving with you.
You're watching JKL, brought to you by Telkom Enterprise.
Has been digitized. The most important thing to Dormans as a company is its stability. That is exactly what Telkom has delivered to us.
Telkom Enterprise, enhancing business growth.